Cool, man. Right. I think we're rolling. Hopefully, don't need these headphones. I hate listening to myself.
Same. I hate the sound of my own voice.
But you're a singer?
Yeah, recorded singing's not quite so bad. Just hearing my voice, hearing talking. You know, it sounds different in your own head, and then you hear a record, I'm like, oh man, that's not cool.
Always. Do you like talk, like when you're playing a gig, do you talk between sets?
Yeah, I waffle.
Can you hear yourself like in like the monitors and stuff?
Yeah, but I still think I hear it in my head more, so it's less offensive. I think if I hear a recording back, I'm like, oh man. I just like to hide behind the guitar, really.
When I first started doing like YouTube stuff with Jackie, I remember I was just like, dude, I really want to do this, but I really can't bear like editing it and listening to my voice. Like, it's all right when you've got like the finished piece and you see like it all just looks like fun, but when you're just going through like all of the takes that it's taken to get there and the sound of your voice, it's just like, nah.
Yeah, because you hear it back and you're like, do I really sound like that? Is that what people hear when I talk? Because that sounds rubbish. Oh, in my head I sounded cool. I was like, I thought I was like Samuel L. Jackson, but no, absolutely not.
Amazing.
Very posh white dude. Damn it.
It's the unfortunate reality of
c'est la vie.
It is, yeah. So, what's been going on? What have you been up to recently?
All sorts. This year's been fingers in pies. So doing my solo stuff still doing this sort of singer-songwriter thing. I'm currently working on a collaborations project that I'm going to release sort of spring 2019. Working with others, so working with Slang a lot. We got some gigs coming up doing the Roundhouse.
That's a big venue.
Month. Yeah, it should be cool. You know the Manor?
Yeah.
So we're supporting them there in a couple of weeks. And then, writing for lots of other people and doing a bit more production stuff. Started a company this year, doing music for film and TV stuff. So we've done a few adverts and a couple of films. Actually got a screening of that tonight. We're doing there's a snowboarding movie that we did, and it's in a sort of adventure sports festival thing tonight. So that, and then just taking a job at Movember as well. So doing sort of the music and events side of their stuff. Hopefully it's going to be throughout the year as opposed to just the month of November. I think we're going to do quarterly gigs in different cities around the world, and well, lots. I'm just getting my head around it now. It's brand new, so I'm kind of getting clued up with what's going on with it. But yeah, fingers in pies, keeping busy.
Wow, like keeping seriously busy.
Yeah.
I guess for like when you search like Ryan Keed on Google, it comes up with all your solo stuff. But it sounds like there's a huge web of other things going on as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to diversify a little bit. I think I fell into a bit of a trap in the last sort of maybe 18 months where, you know, I've been lucky enough to live off music for a while now, but then with that, given that, you know, I'm still on the kind of acoustic lower level of it all, the pressure to have to earn, then I think that started to affect my writing, and I wasn't really enjoying that pressure of like, oh, you know, do I need to write more of a pop song, or, you know, what is the current sound that whatever, you know, whatever singer-songwriter is currently, whether it's James Bay or George Ezra, or, you know, what's Ben Howard just done, what's Ed Sheeran just done, what, you know, it's that, and that kind of stuff. I don't want to be doing that. I want to do it for the art, like I always have, which is, you know, it's like kind of like a therapeutic expression of where I'm at in my head, and I just want to write songs about that. I guess that's quite a selfish sounding thing as I say it out loud, but that's kind of what the art is for me. It's like digging into my own emotions and then trying to create some sort of sound, you know. Like,
I don't think that sounds selfish, because that's kind of like, as artists, that's people, like, you make the stuff that makes you happy, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, not necessarily makes you happy, but makes you feel like content and like a sense of self-worth. Like you're putting something out that's like a part of you.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're kind of like putting yourself in a situation where there's less pressure on those songs and you can gain income through other revenues.
Exactly. Yeah, I just it allows me now to fully it takes both a time pressure and a financial pressure off songwriting, and I think if it already feels like that. The songs I've been writing the last few months feel like some of the best work I've ever done, and so I'm excited again about it all, rather than thinking like, yeah, shit, I need to talk about this, or you know, production wise it needs to be like this. It's cool. I think I'm not trying to aim to be anything now. I just want to put out good music and see what happens with it, and that's as simple as that. And doing all these other things I'm doing now, all the kind of production and composition and session playing and all these other things, is kind of just facilitating that, and also opening my eyes and ears to other things I can then bring to my own project.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like you're in a good position at the moment then.
Sounds like it. Hopefully.
So you've been playing for years, haven't you? Because I remember like coming to the Barrel House in Totnes and seeing you playing like way back in the day. And then like we were talking about your nails. And you said that you used to play flamenco guitar. Is that where you got started?
So yeah, I picked up my first guitar. Apparently I asked for it for my 8th birthday. So that's when I sort of got 8th birthday. Wow. Yeah, so good few years now. And I think originally it was a bit of classical, and then this guy moved into the village. Actually, well, you know Harpenden Ford. Do you remember Beanley, just outside? Yeah. So this guy Bernardo moved to Beanley, and I think I can't remember if it was meeting him through surfing, or then I can't remember if I ended up surfing with him anyway. But somehow we kind of crossed paths, and he turned out to just be this absolute dude. He's this Portuguese guy who surfed and then played jazz and flamenco. And I just remember as a kid just thinking, this guy's the coolest.
He sounds
the
pretty
coolest
cool.
human. Yeah, he was awesome. He had this cool little house. It always smelled of weed. Like, I think he just did exactly what he liked doing, and made a living out of it. I was like, that's pretty cool. And he introduced me to flamenco, and when I heard him play, I was blown away, and I was like, right, that's what I want to learn. So I learned from him for a good couple of years, 2-3 years. So that's how it kind of got started. And then over the years, I did lots of different styles of playing. I kind of got into the folky stuff and ended up picking up an electric, and in my teen days, you know, doing some rock band and covers and that kind of stuff. But the techniques that I learned from flamenco and classical, and kind of, they always stayed with me. So these days it's quite a geeky niche. It's called percussive fingerstyle, the style of playing that I do on steel string. But yeah, I brought elements of sort of flamenco.
Yeah, it must be quite technical. Like I've seen like Rodrigo Gabriela. Trying to get my
That's it. Yeah, you got it.
Rodrigo Gabriela.
Yeah,
like seeing them playing live is just like ridiculous.
Yeah, they're unreal.
So
they're on a great show. Yeah. So I try and do that kind of stuff, but I guess my songwriting style is a little more traditional, singer-songwriter, kind of poppy, kind of folky, kind of bluesy influenced, but so I try and bring in the elements of the weird guitar playing to kind of regular songs, I guess.
Nice. Coming out of Totnes, there's like quite a few bands and people like Ben Howard, Metronomy and stuff. And obviously yourself. Like, what do you think it is about Totnes that
good question.
breeds these musical types?
I think there's quite a freedom in Totnes. People are pretty open-minded, so I think there's just opportunity to express yourself without judgment there. You know, there's a lot of hippies moved down there back in the day, and kind of who are about the kind of arts and crafts kind of scene and world. And for me, luckily at the time when I went to Kevik's, there was a wicked music department. I haven't been back there for a while. I'm not sure if it's still the same, but Jill Bird was the head of music there, and she drove me pretty hard and kind of just allowed me to be musical. And I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, there's Ben and the Metronomy boys, and I think Muse were kind of Dawlish. Yeah, exactly. I think Chris Martin's from. I think he's from Devon.
Yeah. I searched on Google and it was like 50 famous people to come from Devon.
Oh yeah.
And I was like surprised that there was like that many people, and like a lot of them like went to university and stuff. Exeter and whatnot. But
something in the water.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So fast forwarding a little bit, I read that you want to competition for South by Southwest.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, so I never planned on being a singer-songwriter.
Did you have like a plan or a goal?
No. I knew I wanted to do music, and so I went to university at Westminster and to study music there. But at that time, it's kind of an industry-based course. So at one point I was learning some law and thinking maybe I'll go into the law side of it, and just trying to get my head around it. I knew I wanted to play guitar, but I didn't know whether that was going to be my way of earning necessarily. I didn't know if I wanted to go into session playing. I wasn't too sure, but I just knew I wanted to pursue music somehow. And then
you didn't fancy being like a lawyer by day, singer-songwriter by night?
I was thinking something like that. Yeah, and like music lawyers are pretty well connected. I was thinking maybe that's a way of getting myself out there and known a little bit. I wasn't too sure at the time, and so I was at uni, and I was producing for some other people and writing for some other people and playing for some other people, but I was way too shy to sing. Some of the people there were like proper gospel singers and stuff, like heavy riffers and coming in and screaming like Mariah Carey or Stevie Wonder riffs, and I'm going, nah, that's not me. So I kind of swerved singing entirely. I'd do a bit of backing vocals maybe, but that would be about it. And then in my third year, I just had just a turn of events. A friend of mine in Devon died very suddenly from an undiagnosed heart condition, and then about 3 weeks later, a friend of mine at uni hung himself, and it just hit me pretty hard. And so I fell off. I quit uni at the time, and started drinking pretty heavily, and then started sitting down with my guitar and writing songs about what was going on and how I felt.
Wow.
And so that's actually how it started. And then I just started gigging, and I kind of just did it in the old school where I just gigged relentlessly. So I think I did 300 gigs in the first sort of 18 months or something like that. I was just out every night, anywhere that would take me, whether it was open mic or an acoustic night or whatever.
That's going to boost your stage confidence, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I had
gigs.
zero. I remember the first. I think it was a little pub in Stockwell, and I nearly threw up. I think there's about 10 people there, and I didn't know what to do. At that time I was sat on a chair while still playing guitar. I didn't know how to talk to a crowd whatsoever. I even bought a joke book at one point, I think, just in case I stalled so hard and I needed a joke. But,
top tips.
Yeah, just desperation of like, I don't know how to talk to people in a kind of public domain like that. But yeah, so that's how it started, and then I was just worked a 9 to 5 at the time. I was working for this shoe company to just to fund living in London, and doing that. And slowly over time, things started to get a bit more. I was getting busier and busier with music, and then decided to go for it. So I quit my job and just started sofa surfing basically. And it was around that time I recorded my first EP, and I'd entered it into some competition to play it at South by. And
is it Texas?
Yeah, it's in Austin. Yeah, in spring down there. And yeah, it won. My song got through, and
I bet that must have felt amazing.
Oh, it was unreal, absolutely unreal, and it was great. And it was a small stage, and it was like, look, you can come and play this, but they didn't sort out anything else other than that. So I was broke at the time. I think it was near my birthday, so I asked for flights over to.
Oh, so you wanted to play there, but you didn't get anything else covered?
No, the expenses and stuff weren't covered. It was a small competition. It wasn't a.
It's almost like a backhanded compliment, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of, man. And then I was terrified as well because I didn't have a visa, and so I was thinking,
so they expected you to go on a tourist visa.
Yeah, and I didn't know what the deal was because I didn't know whether it was work. I wasn't getting paid for the gig, and then I was thinking the last thing I want to do is get blacklisted from America. So I ended up flying into Houston a week early, and then driving to Austin. And it was me and my percussionist, and we hired a car. And I was so broke at the time. I hired a car, and then we slept in the car for about a week. We were doing that, and then we when we were there, we were hustling hard because there's always little opportunities. So we ended up doing about 4 or 5 gigs at the festival.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and from that, I kind of got spotted, and then I signed my first publishing deal, and then that sort of funded the next sort of projects and moving forward. So that's kind of how it started off, was from that competition. So yeah, even though it wasn't the greatest opportunity in the world, it did actually facilitate entirely me getting started with music.
Amazing. Is that where the kind of Ed Sheeran stuff started? Or was that later?
No, that was very early on. So I met Ed in a pub called the World's End in Finsbury Park. My friend Cal used to run this night there. Cal Lavelle is she's a fantastic singer-songwriter. And she used to run a night every Sunday. And I just met him there. Like, I just remember seeing him and thinking, this guy's got something. And he saw me and liked the way that I played guitar. So I think the first time we met, I might have even been sleeping in my van at that time. I did a fair stint of homelessness in London for a little while.
Oh, you got to make those sacrifices though.
Yeah.
Although I say you have to. I've never slept in my van or my car for longer than a couple of days. So.
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah. I mean, I was kind of in between sleeping in my van and sleeping on mates' sofas and stuff like that for about a year and a half. But that's when I first met him. And yeah, like after the gig, we both played, and then we had a few beers, and then went to an off license, and I kind of bought a few more beers. And
was this kind of before he was a huge name as
well?
Yeah,
he wasn't. He was about to bring out the collaborations EP. So he did. I don't know if you ever heard that one. It was with a bunch of the UK rappers, mainly from the grime scene. There was who do you have on it? It was Wretch 32, P Money, Wiley was on there.
Yeah, I've heard that P Money track, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just before he dropped that, and then after that was the A Team, and it was kind of. In fact, it was just before he'd even signed with Warner's at that point. But it was kind of, there was a bit of a buzz on the ground about him. So he'd done the SBTV thing, and one of those ones was going quite viral. So he had a bit of a following. There was a buzz, but it wasn't, anything like where he's at now. So yeah, we just met like that, and yeah, the first night we got a load of beers and bought. I remember we bought it. We wanted to write a song, and neither of us had a notepad, so we kind of bought this, like the magic painting thing. You ever had them where you just get a paintbrush with water and you just paint the colours and they come in through naturally anyway?
No,
it's
I don't think
weird
I've seen
little
that.
painting, but we bought that and a load of crayons. And
please tell me you've still got that page somewhere.
I don't. I lost it. I know. It's probably. I should have kept hold of it. I don't know where it would be now.
It's too good.
Yeah. So that's how we became friends. And
Did you write the song then? Have you recorded something?
I've still got a voice note somewhere. We never went anywhere with that song. But we stayed friends, and then so that first album started blowing up. In fact, even before then, he took me for to support him on a couple of smaller gigs, and then when the first album blew, he took me on tour around the UK, and then when the second album came out, he then took me on tour around Europe and the Middle East. So he's been great with helping me kind of get my name out there a bit. Having the opportunity to play to some pretty decent sized crowds.
What kind of size are the shows that you're playing with him?
So that tour was arenas. So kind of between sort of 6,000 to 15,000, kind of depending on which city it was in. But yeah, good size shows, and he just sells out everywhere now. It's kind of at the same. Then he'd sell out those places, and now it's with the third album he's stepped up another rung, and he just sells out stadiums now. It's outrageous.
That's so many people.
It's ridiculous.
So many people looking. I can't even imagine standing on a stage of 15 people listening to me talking, let alone 15,000.
Do you know what? It's funny. It doesn't change in terms of fear at all for me, actually. And I thought it would. And to be honest, once you get to a certain size, I think after kind of academy size, after about 3,000, generally the size of those venues, the spots are pretty intense anyway, so you can normally only see the front row unless the house sites go up and you see everyone else, and that's already a lot of people, and kind of just adding a few thousand more doesn't make it, it's bigger, but it's just still loads of people anyway, so that's, and it's almost less intimidating. You do those big ones and you just have to approach it a little differently. Because it's such a big crowd, you don't really ask intimate questions, you kind of make some noise for this, you kind of give yes or no kind of questions just to get people involved.
Yeah.
Whereas when it's a small intimate setting and you can see everyone in the room and you can have conversations in between songs. That can be equally as intimidating, especially if it's a bunch of my peers or my family come down and I can see them. That's just as terrifying.
Yeah, I was filming a gig in Malta for like an MTV thing last year. I think they said it was 50,000 people. It was like the entire square in like the capital of Malta.
Amazing.
They just put a stage in it.
Yeah.
And I was like standing there behind this mesh, so you could see everyone, but they couldn't see you. And I was still like, oh my God.
That's a lot of
there's
people.
So many people. I'm so happy.
It's like a town's worth of people.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just like a swarm. But then again, it's like, once you get to that many, it's like, what's an extra 10,000? What's an extra few thousand?
Yeah, weird.
Like,
I know that sounds kind of weird, but that is exactly how it feels. It's not.
it's just a swarm.
Yeah,
of heads.
it's just a load more, but there's already loads, so it's not that big a deal.
So what's the Middle East like? I've been like dying to get there at some point.
I love it. I really love it. Oman is my favorite place that I've visited in the Middle East. I'd never really heard of it. I guess I kind of heard about Dubai, and you kind of see the scale and grandeur of that place with the Burj Khalifa and.
It's very Instagrammable these days, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's kind of. It's not like Vegas, but it's kind of this kind of absolute, insanely wild and gigantic and rapidly expanding place in the desert. It was desert not that long ago, and now it's
Money
the mall and the kind of stuff there is outrageous, and some of the cars that people are rolling around in is insane. It is quite wild.
Yeah, I saw a photo of a Lamborghini police car that was apparently in Dubai.
A lot of the police have pretty outrageous sports cars.
Insane. Is it just like a huge tax bracket? And the police are like, what should we spend all this excess money on?
Well, I think also they probably need them because
to keep
there's other people going around in McLaren F1s or whatever, or Bugatti Veyrons and these kind of the real top end stuff. So I mean that's amazing. That doesn't grab my attention in the same kind of way. I'd seen Dubai and Abu Dhabi and places like that, and traveling. You stop through their airports, but never. I hadn't really spent time there. But then, and I heard of Saudi Arabia. I guess probably more negatively in the news from what we get. But Oman had never really been covered in my experience, and so going out there, I didn't know what to expect, and it's one of the most amazing places I've ever been, and I try and get back there regularly. The people are incredible. The place is unbelievable. They have huge canyons. It's like the second biggest canyon in the world, I think. They call it the Grand Canyon of the Middle East. These amazing mountains. The water's warm. It's full of turtles. There's camels everywhere. There's these things called wadis, which are just essentially rivers, but they kind of appear out of nowhere. So you'll be driving through the desert, and then suddenly there's all these palm trees and banana leaves and this turquoise water that you can go and swim in. It's an incredible place. So I have nothing but fond and good things.
I'd love to do like a trip through. I mean, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq is not a great place to go at the moment, but something like just driving.
There's different places. I think you just have to be.
Yeah, I've met a few people recently who said they've travelled there, and it's like it's been safe and it's been fine.
Yeah.
And it's a great place to go if you don't want to see any tourists.
Yeah.
It's like. And people are like actually really nice and really want to show you their lives and show you what their culture's like. So.
Yeah, it is amazing. Yeah, and that's I think that it gets painted badly just through the press and media. And you actually go out there and it's the opposite of kind of what the media like to portray. I guess it's not all war torn and it's not that at all. In fact, it's flourishing in many, like Muscat, the capital of Oman is incredible. The place is immaculate, and they don't have skyscrapers over there. I think 4 or 5 stories is the maximum that they were allowed to build, and they've continued.
Bit different to Dubai, then.
Yeah, that's it. Very, very different. You feel more of the kind of Middle Eastern culture there, whereas Dubai is more about, look at this, it's the biggest building in the world, and check out this swimming pool on this gorgeous hotel, and
aren't they like building another one that's even bigger than the Burj Khalifa?
I think so. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a kind of dick measuring contest around the world, isn't it? Of like, check out how high my skyscraper is. It's like they're big. I don't know. The Burj Khalifa is huge, dude. It's I don't know. They probably are competing with each other. You know, the richest men in the world just being like, yeah.
What else would you do with all this money?
Yeah, don't know. Could put it to good? Nah. Build a huge skyscraper.
Put it into concrete. So 5 stories max in.
I think so. I think it's like that. I need to check it. I don't want to be
cool.
held.
So you really
held
get
to
like a great view of like the actual countryside.
Yeah, yeah, and it's incredible, and I have nothing but good things to say about the Middle East in my experience.
Amazing. And you said you're heading back there.
Yeah, I'm back there. Fly out there again on Boxing Day to do a kind of a corporate gig there for one of the hotels, just playing for them.
You're gonna like spend some time doing stuff that's not just music related, while you're
yeah,
there
absolutely.
make a bit of a trip of it.
Yeah, so when I've been going there, I've been I quite often visit this. It's called the Mutra Souk. It's like their traditional kind of marketplace there. I think also I shouldn't be quiet on this, but I think it's like the birthplace or the original origins of frankincense in Oman, and it's certainly known to have the sort of the best and purest frankincense in the world. So I'd never really got into that before. I didn't really know too much about frankincense other than in the biblical references.
3 Kings.
Yeah, exactly, right. And they burn it everywhere there. It's very standard. So as you came in today being like, oh, the flat smells nice. So that was, I'm always burning frankincense here now. And this time I want to visit in southern Oman. There's a place called Salalah, which is another city, and outside of Salalah is where the frankincense is harvested. It's the sap of a tree. So I quite want to go and explore some of that. And there's places further down south. They have hundreds of miles of coastline, and whereas it's really beautiful, and there'll be wild camels sort of walking up and down the beach. And I want to just get more into the nature side of it. They have whale sharks there as well. You can go and swim with them, and I kind of want to explore some of that side of sort of the nature side of things.
Do you know where frankincense comes from? Like what it is?
Yeah, so I can't remember the name of the tree, but they sort of cut a small nick in it, and the sap comes out, and then they dry. Yeah, it's dried sap.
Wow.
And I think like thousands of years ago it was worth more than gold. Initially, it was a very like sacred kind of thing. And these days, there's a lot more made, and they grow it and harvest it in other countries as well, like Somalia and other places also make it now. But the kind of it's amazing. Like, and over there with the purest stuff, they eat it. It has medicinal purposes. It's good for digestion and things. And it's I don't know. It's pretty cool. And it's I'm into it. I'm into weird smells and stuff. Anyway, I'm always burning Palo Santo or frankincense, all these different things. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I kind of put myself off because my mate Louis burns it all the time, and I went around to his and was like, "Oh, cool, I'll buy some." Bought some just online, and it just wasn't very good quality and just kind of smelled bad. But I was like, I've spent a bit of money on this. I'm still going to burn it, and it just really put me off.
I've got loads. I literally have kilos in that cupboard there, so I'll hook you up.
Perfect. Get me back on the frankincense train.
Yeah, man.
That'd be rad. Like when you're touring, how do you balance like your studio work, or do you just completely commit to touring stuff?
It kind of depends on the scale of the tour. If it's a smaller tour, like one of my own kind of ones, and loads of driving in a smaller van, that kind of is a bit harder. I'll always go on the road with my laptop and a mic, and try and do some writing and stuff. If it's on a bigger one, if it's like a support tour where we've got sleeper coaches and all that kind of stuff, then you can kind of dig into it a bit more, and I can set up a little recording space in the dressing room. And so I try and keep active with that.
I guess you're like around other musicians as well, so it's a good opportunity to like make stuff together. Exactly.
And that's so one of the songs I wrote for the next project is with Ed, and we wrote that in his hotel room when we were in Qatar. Actually, it was another one in the Middle East. So I do try and keep writing and keep busy while I'm doing a big tour, just because otherwise it's. I've heard other artists kind of describe it like a tap, the creative thing, and sometimes you have to, if you don't turn on your taps for ages, you sometimes have to, you turn them on, the brown water comes through, you got to let it run clear again. It can be a bit like that creatively. I can kind of get a bit stumped almost. And I've had writer's block once before, and it lasted a few months, and it was horrendous. And so I try and actively make sure I continue writing.
Was there anything that caused that? Was it just you suddenly were?
I think there was there's a few things going on. There was a relationship that I was in, and also like my team around me. There were some pressures coming in from different angles, and I think I ended up shying away and then not writing because I didn't want to write the wrong stuff that might get misread or misinterpreted or wasn't ticking boxes. And it was kind of after my first album, so I totally independently made my first album and independently released it, but then ended up licensing it to a mix of independents and major labels around the world. And it was almost coming off the back of that I started to feel the pressure. I never really saw myself as a commercial artist, if that makes sense. I was just a singer-songwriter. Initially I was a guitarist who sung. I kind of saw myself more in the kind of like a John Mayer-esque way. He started his roots as he's an unbelievable blues player, and then sings, and then kind of he's more well known for his pop songs, but he's certainly an incredibly like academically trained, guitar player. And that's kind of how I initially saw myself. But then when I started having more success in Germany and Australia, and kind of working with major labels and doing TV and doing the radio stuff, and then finding my songs in the charts and all that kind of stuff, it started to change the way that I thought about myself as an artist, because suddenly fans knew me because they'd heard me on the radio, and then they only knew me because of my voice, and that kind of blew my mind a little bit, because wow. I guess on a recording they don't know that I'm the guy who's playing guitar as well. So that started. I was like, oh shit, people, different people view me very differently. Like in the UK, I haven't had major support, and I've had the odd radio play here and there, but the fan base I've got here is just through the relentless gigging that I did, and then through landing some support tours. So people in the UK kind of just see me more as the kind of way I think I see myself, as a gigging guitar player who sings. And then in other places, if people have seen me, opening for a big act, or they've seen me on TV, or they've heard me on the radio, I'm often perceived a little differently, and they maybe put me, I think, on more of a pedestal than what I put myself on. So that started changing the way that I thought, okay, I'm entering into this world now, and then I think some of those pressures, as well as everything else that was going on in my personal life, it just stumped me, and I just thought, right, I don't know what to write about now, because before, like I was kind of saying with you, where I feel like I'm back to now, where I'm just writing about what's whether it's something that's happened to me, or it's a philosophy, or something that someone else is going through something and I can relate to it, and I want to put that down in words and melodies. I think at that point I was like, I got to write a hit, I've got to follow up album 1, and it's got to be bigger and better, and I've got to kind of keep cracking on like that. So it changed. I think that's what kind of initiated that writer's block, and then I just did the worst thing you can do, which was just shy away from writing entirely, and just didn't for a few months. But anyway, that's behind me now, thankfully.
I know, like, we've talked a little bit in the past about kind of some of the mental illness stuff that you've gone through with a bit of anxiety and depression. Do you think that comes from the kind of pressures you might have put on yourself from music?
Yeah, I'm lucky enough. I don't think I've really ever suffered anxiety too badly. Depression is something that I still struggle with at the moment, and I think it stems from a bunch of different things. I don't want to turn this into a therapy session or me diving too deep into it. I know what initially caused my first kind of major low, and since then it's kind of been an ongoing thing from that, and it's stuff that I'm trying to work through actively, with therapy, with being open and talking about it, through meditation, through exercise, through eating well, through trying to have routine, and some of the things I think that come hand in hand with the lifestyle that being a musician enables it can very easily lead to that. I think artists.
I mean, we were talking before the podcast about Avicii and numerous people in the music industry that have committed suicide. So it feels like if you're not in tune with like the balance of looking after your mental side, like there's a huge amount going on.
Yeah, and I think it's on both sides of it as well. This is something. So with this new job that I'm taking on with Movember, looking into mental health in the music industry is something that I am adamant that I want to dig into, because the stats are terrible for both anxiety and depression and suicide within the music industry. And I think it's both sides of it. It's both having major success and also having failure, both equally actually large pressures that you can have on yourself. I think that from anything from someone who gets signed and dropped, or for someone who's maybe done the reality TV stuff, they've kind of come from being unknown in summer to being in all the tabloids in winter, and if they don't, nothing happens from it, by next summer they're kind of essentially unknown again, but with a large social media following that isn't really real. They're not real fans that are going to buy tickets to gigs and support.
Well, it's like winning the lottery, isn't it? Like there's so many accounts of people that have won all this money and then become severely depressed because they haven't like earned it. And it's not
exactly.
You're not being like awarded something. You're just being given something, and it's
and if you're not kind of prepared for it, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It's an extreme thing to go through. If you sign to a major label, a lot of people think, I've made it, and the reality is it's not that. You kind of you're now just the opportunity to maybe make it, right? Or there's a lot of stuff that can be out of your hands. I know some incredible musicians that haven't made it, and I know some people that have made it that I'd value lower than these incredible musicians that haven't. And it's a lot of it is down to opportunity. It's down to the team around you, and then it's down to just the stars aligning. Things are changing a bit with Spotify, but back in the day with a radio plugger, if you wrote a song about a breakup and the radio plugger is bringing it to the producer of a show, if that person's going through a breakup, maybe they're going to be like, oh yeah, I can relate to this song, and I'm going to put that on heavy rotation. That's going to get A-list playlist. But maybe they're getting married that weekend. They're like, fuck this, I don't want to listen to a depressing breakup song. I'm happy, I'm good. No, that song's not going on. Or maybe, there's only a certain amount of space. So for a singer-songwriter, if you're trying to bring out this song on this day, and then whoever bigger name than you is also bringing out a song that day, then they're going to get favorite, they're going to get the spot. So there's a lot of stuff that can be totally out of your hands. And that's across the board with opportunities and just the way that everything can work. Sometimes you land a sync on an advert and that can get things moving. And there's no formula. So I think that can be quite mentally difficult for people to deal with, as to how to become successful, because if there was a formula, there'll be a lot of people following it. And so there's that. And then on the flip side, if you do really well, it is a business. People want to make money out of it, so they want to work you hard. So it's kind of get on the road, gig as much as you can, do as much PR as you can, stay in the limelight, deliver the next album, let's keep going while you're hot. There's kind of a lot of pressure like that, and that
I can really see why you're trying to alleviate a bit of that pressure and
not
make that your sole income.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about that kind of stuff. It is a very privileged thing to do music, and I'm not trying to detract from that, but at the same time, there is a lot of outside pressures that can come with it. Fame is a bit of a fickle monster, and that's something that needs to be maybe more openly discussed sometimes as well. That can have a real pressure on people. It's amazing, and this is in fact this is with everyone, as far as I've kind of witnessed. You can be given a lot of compliments. You just need one really negative one, and that one is the one that resonates and brings you down. And that is often the way. A lot of celebrities and or people that I know that have had any kind of slating in media, it really hurts them. Like it can be it can be an anonymous, as little as an anonymous kind of bit of hate on a comment on a YouTube video, and that's the one that hurts, even though there might be 100 positive ones. And there's all of that kind of stuff. People are, especially creatives, are often the most sensitive souls. That's why they're good at writing songs because they're in touch with their emotion, but they're therefore maybe more susceptible to that kind of stuff as well. So it's something that I am passionate about, and I think it does need to change, and we need to be able to talk openly about it, because it's the kind of the lifestyle of a musician is often like that. You wouldn't expect someone to be able to run a marathon immediately, and that's sometimes what kind of been thrown in the deep end with music is you kind of need to be able to train up for that. So I think there's, through discussion and through losing the stigma behind mental health, maybe people can be better prepared for both the good and the bad that comes with it all. And then I think that then moving forward, if people are inspired by musicians and they kind of see them as role models, if the musicians are already better equipped, then hopefully that's going to help have a bigger outreach of everyone being better at talking about mental health issues. Because I've personally lost too many people to suicide now for me to not be able to have it as part of my life, to try and do more to prevent more in the future.
And you're working with the I Am Whole charity,
Yeah.
So that's like musicians. Is it mostly musicians around mental health? Yeah,
there's a bunch of celebrities that have kind of backed it to help the campaign grow, but it's a campaign to raise awareness and reduce stigma is the goal of I Am Whole. Because I think things are changing, things are improving, people are more openly talking about it, and people of all different positions, even the princes have spoken about their mental health issues and stuff like that, and that's amazing to see, kind of royalty talking about it. It's great that people are now opening up more about it, because it's so common, and the old kind of traditional macho stiff upper lip, sweep it on the rug, don't talk about it, it's particularly bad in men. I think that's why male suicide is a lot higher, because it's not the macho thing. It's seen as weakness a lot of the time to say, yeah, I'm struggling or whatever, it's, and if you don't understand what depression is, then it can be one of those ones where people think it's mind over matter or whatever, kind of like, come on, shake it off. And I think it's like I was saying to you earlier, that's like trying to tell someone with a broken leg to walk it off, or you're not going to tell someone with a terminal illness to pull themselves together, and it is that level of seriousness, and it's not often perceived that way. So things are improving, but we still got a long way to go with it, and I definitely want to be involved in changing that.
And with the Movember stuff, that's going to be music related? The work you're doing with them as well, yeah.
Yeah. That's a male-based charity with three things. So it's prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and suicide prevention are kind of their three areas that they're working on. And my role within that is going to be, for me, I think, particularly paying attention to the mental health, suicide prevention side of things, and looking on it, how we can change these stats, how we can reduce it, and doing that in a fun way. It's a heavy topic, and some people don't like openly talking about it. Some people are quite, if suicide has happened, death can be quite a taboo subject as well. But if it hasn't even gone that extreme, just someone dealing with mental health issues is still a hard one for lots of people to talk about. So if that can get broken down, that would be great, and if we can do it in a fun way. So I'm trying to look into how we do. I want to do gigs around the world in lots of different cities, and do ones that are fundraisers. Maybe we'll do some big gigs and get, the ticket sales can then go towards the research or whatever help or whatever needs to be done within the Movember Foundation. But on top of that, tapping into bigger outreach. So looking into social media, and maybe through helping other musicians and getting them to talk more openly about it. Maybe that's as simple as that, shooting, I don't know, a cool live video on top of some dope building in New York or downtown LA or whatever, and we'll shoot a gig there, and then maybe do an interview with the artists and stuff. And it can be lighthearted, and people can, but it'd be great, just to see more people being like, yeah, man, I've suffered, but I'm good, I'm strong, I'm back, I'm here.
It's inspiring.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'd like to take it to focus on the strength that can come from it. Certainly for me, I feel strong, even though I'm currently still, having therapy and working on my own issues, and I have very low days, but it doesn't change who I am. I still help other friends who are struggling. I still can get up and go for a run and meditate and go to the gym and then do all my emails and then write songs and produce other people's work and do all these things while dealing with it all. And that's empowering in itself. I'm like, yeah, I'm still going, I'm still here, and I'm still gonna carry on, and it'd be great to get other people to be able to openly talk about their own experiences and admit that, I'm having to do it now and I'm making myself do it, but I can already feel myself getting a bit like angsty just saying that kind of stuff. But I need to dig into this more, and this is something that I plan to do with my research over the next few months. I don't know why that is. I broke a rib at the start of this year, and I'm happy to say, yeah, I fell over and broke a rib. But why? I don't know why I find it harder to be like, yeah, I cried myself to sleep a few nights ago. Why? Why is that?
I guess
hard, right?
You're putting more on the line with your vulnerability, aren't you? You're kind of like, it's almost like you're putting yourself up to be judged.
I guess so. Yeah, that's it, and that's the fear of it, is the fear of judgment, and I think probably just because that's, things are changing from generation to generation. I do think things are improving, but I guess that's like slightly just kind of in me of, have to be tough, and I wanted to, I kind of like the idea of being a tough guy, but it's not as simple as that, and I did martial arts for years, and felt like, okay, I can handle myself in a fight or whatever, and so don't show signs of weakness is kind of this thing that's kind of there, but it's also absolute bullshit, and it's kind of everything is a pendulum with, it's kind of by experiencing heavy lows, you then appreciate the highs even more, and I guess my lifestyle has been like that. I've been lucky enough to travel around the world and share stages with great people and kind of do music with I've written with people that I grew up listening to, and I've had these unbelievable opportunities. And so then when I do get those kind of things, the highs that come with it are incredible as well. So I guess all of it is a pendulum, really, but being able to admit that you're struggling is something that needs to be cool. Like, that needs to be fine. Like, people will happily say they got a cold, got the flu.
And you cut your hand, didn't you, on a bottle or something? And you were like totally fine about talking about that.
That was, yeah. I mean, that was just the worst thing I ever did. I was trying to open. Do you know what? So when I signed that publishing deal, so this is after South by Southwest, I signed that publishing deal, and I finally had enough money to rent a flat. So it was my first night in a flat, and I invited my brother round and a mate round. I had studio the following day. I was going on tour 3 weeks later. Like, kind of things were lined up, and it wasn't a wild one. I just didn't have a corkscrew, so I invited my brother and a mate round we're going to watch a film and like drink some wine and have a pizza. It was like very chilled, and I didn't have a corkscrew, and I was trying to push the cork in, and it went horrifically wrong. The bottle shattered, and a piece of glass just severed my wrist. It cut down to the bone and went through everything. It was bad. So I mean, I hit the artery and stuff. I nearly bled. I nearly died from it. It really sucked. But I went through the tendons, and so I lost movement in my thumb at that moment in time. And yeah, that was pretty was pretty full on. I had to have surgery to stitch up the tendons, and my thumb is, well, you can see it's still quite massively out of place, and I've lost the nerves in this part. I can't feel there anymore. And it was quite full on at the time, because I was told that I might not ever be able to play guitar.
And that was like just after you signed the publishing deal.
Yeah. And that was actually, I know we keep going back to mentioning him, but that was the first tour with Ed when he'd just blown up, and I'd never done, I'd done gigs to maybe a few hundred, and suddenly this was like, I think the first one was kind of like 3,000 in Manchester, and it was like, everyone was saying you're not going to do that. It was a 10-week recovery period.
What did you do then?
I was completely determined. I had zero doubt in my mind that I was going to do that tour, and I worked with a physio immediately. I was in a cast for a week, so then I had 2 weeks to learn how to play guitar with the current situation. So my thumb was held in this cast. I wasn't allowed to move it. But the physio was amazing. We redesigned a different cast together, and we kind of melted a plectrum into the thumb part of the cast, and then I put some rubber into the wrist part so I could do my percussive stuff. And then I just spent 2 weeks in my bedroom. I think I was practicing probably about 8 hours, 10 hours a day for 2 weeks, just relearning how to play my songs with a cast. One of my favorite sort of guitarists growing up was a guy called Django Reinhardt.
French guy.
Yeah, and he had this severely kind of, I don't know what the correct terminology is. Anyway, one of his hands was not functioning normally. I don't know what the PC way of saying is, but he was one of the, like, he kind of played gypsy jazz, and he was this unbelievable guitar player.
Yeah, I've seen like a little documentary because he met up with like a flute player or something who was also I think he played flute. There was like two. They were like both living on the streets in Paris. And, started together. But yeah, like his guitar playing is
insane, right? Yeah, exactly. And he had the odds kind of against him with what he was working with physically. So I kind of had that in my head. I was just like, right, if I can't use my thumb, then I'm just gonna have to get really good with my fingers, or I'll find a way to kind of work around it. And thankfully, you know, they stitched the tendons back up, and they are now. It does work. It works differently, but it does work. And I've just had to adapt. I haven't got the full speed that I had for rapid flamenco playing, but I'm not doing rapid flamenco playing, thankfully. So it's kind of, I've just had to adapt with it. But yeah, that's a funny one because that was I was an idiot trying to open a bottle of wine incorrectly, but that was an injury that I can openly, happily talk about.
Yeah,
because it's not a mental one. I guess it's easier to discuss. But yeah.
I guess everyone's had a drunken mistake, or most people have. So it's like, it's a bit.
That's the thing. I was sober. I was
you were
such
sober?
a moron. I was
my
stone cold sober.
Trying to get drunk.
Mate, it was my first. So I'd been essentially homeless. I wasn't homeless, but you know, like I was saying, I was sleeping in my van. I was staying on mates' sofas for, I can't remember. It was over a year, probably less than 18 months, but somewhere in that kind of time frame. And this was my first night in my flat, and yeah, I spent the night in A&E in Homerton, and Hackney A&E on a Saturday night is not the one. It was pretty full on, some serious characters in there. So yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it was rushed off in ambulances and trying to stop arteries bleeding out and stuff. It was pretty full on.
So I just wanted to chat a little bit about the company you've started with Dan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know too much about it, but I know you're kind of doing ads and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, how does it work? Are you composing music for commercial, I guess?
Absolutely. Yeah. It came about. It was around this time last year. We'd both just been doing music for adverts on occasion, just through contacts and through the industry and through people we know. And so I did the Mercury Awards last year. The Hyundai were sponsoring it, and I did their TV campaign for that. And Dan had done some stuff previously with Sky and Tom Ford, and I'd done some stuff for Haven in the past, like just random sort of bits and pieces that had come through. And we were kind of talking about it. We're like, oh, maybe we should looking for work as opposed to it just kind of every now and then sort of falling into our lap or kind of crossing our path. And it kind of just, the universe responded. One of my friends,
I mean, you must have some good contacts between you. So
I guess we've both been in the industry for years and know a few people. And so I've been an ambassador for Quicksilver and DC for years. And so I've kind of been working with the surf scene quite a lot. And yeah, we discussed the idea of, you know, starting up this kind of composition production company. And then my friend phoned me up and he said, oh, I've done this film. It's about kind of the big wave riders, and, you know, would you guys be up for doing the soundtrack? And we're like, dude, that's insane. Yeah, we're in. So
that's like a cool gig as well. It's like
it was awesome.
Surf film.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I grew up surfing and I've always loved it, and I have massive admiration for the boys that ride the big wave stuff. And it's so to then be involved in doing the soundtrack was awesome. And then straight after that, DC, who are part of Quicksilver, who both myself and Dan work with as well, are ambassadors for. They then reached out and said, "Oh, look, they have a chalet up in the Alps, and they have like a snow park up there as well, where their pro rider teams come out and they'll stay in the chalet and they'll train and compete up there." And they reached out and said, "Oh, do you want to come out and do like a collaboration thing?" So I've been snowboarding for years, not on any particular level, but like I've always loved it. They're like, "Why don't you come out with the pro riders and they'll take you out to the park and start teaching you, how to do boxes and rails and jumps, and then you go back to the chalet with them, we'll film it all, and you guys start showing them some music stuff, and then it was just for content for online and for social media."
Yeah, I saw a photo of you, someone jumping over you playing the guitar, or a video.
Yeah,
and I wasn't quite sure what was going on, because you're like, this is an interesting shoot, and then I watched it and I was like, hang on a minute, watched it again, I was like, oh, he's jumping over you.
Yeah, that was this guy Vic Laurent. He's amazing snowboarder, and they were doing a shoot and they were trying to get me to do some of these jumps and stuff, and I'm an absolute amateur, and these guys are serious pros. So we were fooling around a little bit trying to do some stuff, and then because he can, he's really good, and so we built. This is outside the chalet in Maribel. We were just building stuff in the garden, like ourselves, out of like pallets and crates and snow, and just messing around. And we built this jump, and then we're like, oh, he's kind of clearing like about 1.5 meters, and we're like, oh, like they're like, oh, grab this guitar, jump in there, and we'll get him to jump you. So that's kind of where that came out. I mean, the chalet is also sponsored by Carlsberg, so we'd probably had a few beers by that point. It definitely seemed a good idea at the time. And given my track record of how clumsy and my hospital visits, that's not I probably shouldn't have done it, but it was pretty funny. So yeah, that DC thing came about, and we ended up. It was quite cool. We took out some mics, and we kind of sampled a bunch of the noises about like them waxing the board, shutting the lockers in the morning, zipping up the snowboarding jacket, tightening the boots. And so we sampled that and then made the beat out of that, and then built a track around it and kind of shot them taking us out, and then some them doing some of the insane stuff. They were jumping us on some of the kind of the XXL jumps where they're, I don't know, 20, 30 foot in the air, but then they some cool drone shots of some of the boys taking me off piste and kind of shredding in the fresh powder, and we just did like a little 2-minute short. So that happened. Then the big wave film thing happened, and then off the back of that's it's still on the kind of circuit at the moment, the surf film, but that started picking up some awards, and then we won some awards for the composition side of it, and then people reached out, so we've now done this snowboarding movie, and then we started pitching other works. We then had some other adverts come through, and it's just it's been a natural kind of organic growth, and we're just starting to push that a little bit more now, and actually start to push out to our contacts, and just started the company and trying to keep that going. It's quite fun. It's so different to how I'd naturally compose. We work in pretty standardly. It'll be 4/4 or maybe 6/8, 12/8 kind of, but it's pretty regular things, and generally it'll be 4 bar, 8 bar, 16 bar, whatever it is, kind of loops, and that's how I work. I work in beats and bars, and a director just goes, right, at half a minute this happens, so you got the music needs to do this, and then at 1 minute and 5 seconds this happens, so it needs to cut out there but then come back in at 1:08 with this. And musically speaking, I'm thinking that's 7 bars out of 8, or that's happening at 1.5 beats into a 4 beat section. And so you kind of have to get really creative with how to compose to what's going on screen and stuff. So it's cool. Like it stretches my mind a lot more, because I have to be less rigid with how I write.
That's so interesting because like when I'm editing, I definitely don't have the luxury of having people composing stuff for my video. So it's always like I take a track.
You got me now, man.
and I edit the video to what the music's doing. So
Yeah.
it's like the other way around, but having it.
That's always awesome when we get it that way around. Love that. So we've had that a few times where they'll edit to one of their favorite tracks and then realize that they can't afford to license it. So they be like, yo, can you make something in this kind of, in this realm? And then, like, right, cool. So that's, just find out the tempo of that song and then the song will naturally fit to it, which is, that's good when it comes in that way for me as well.
Have you got any of your own music coming out soon? Or are you writing much of your own music, or are you kind of focusing on? No,
writing lots. I'm writing all the time. So I'm doing this collaborations EP that will come out in spring. I think I'm trying to give that the time and space that I need to get it right. I don't want to rush this one. And also, it can get fairly political with just getting clearance from the other artists involved. If I can get everyone I'm hoping to sign it off, it will be great. It will do me a lot of favors.
No need to rush though. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Great work comes out when it's ready.
Yeah, hopefully. But I'm writing a lot, and release wise, I think I'm just gonna dig into it properly again next year. I kind of been doing one-off singles, kind of every 6 weeks, every 2 months, every month. It's kind of been just dotting them around, just kind of maintain, just releasing and kind of a bit of presence. But even though the kind of world of digital and streaming, it is more about just releasing singles and kind of having regular content. Myself, as a fan of music, and I know people who are fans of my music, they want more than just one-off singles. They want EPs or albums. So I think, the next thing I'll do is this collaborations EP, and I'll probably then do an album after that, just because I'm sitting on over 100 songs now that I've written, and I just kind of need to, I want to start releasing stuff.
It's a lot of music.
It's loads of music. It's not all good. It's not 100 good songs. Hopefully there's some good ones in there though.
Oh, you've been busy, man.
Yeah. That's one of the perks of insomnia.
So I just wonder if you got any advice for people that are kind of following a bit of a singer-songwriter, maybe not even singer-songwriter, just a path in the music industry these days.
I think probably like probably with yours as well, and many kind of creative industries, competition is higher than ever, but at the same time the opportunity is better than ever. So there's more and more ways to get out there. There's more and more ways to network. You just have to work hard, man. And it's kind of I don't know the best advice I can give other than work on your craft and just graft. There's kind of no substitution for hard work. For me, opportunities have come my way, but if I then actually kind of follow the path of how that opportunity landed on my doorstep, it's generally through continuous graft and continually, random things. Like, I know we keep going back to him, but I met Ed in a tiny pub in northwest London, and he's then become the global kind of sensation and household name that he is. But that was through just gigging away. With any of these things, I think if you can subjectively look at yourself, what it is I need to work on, there's a lot of elements in a singer-songwriter realm, like, can I improve my voice? Do I need to take some vocal lessons? Keep songwriting, continuously songwrite. It's kind of like learning an instrument. I think songwriting can often improve with the more that you do it. Whatever your instrument is, what can I do better with live? How can I get better? Unfortunately, the old saying of like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. There's definitely an element of truth in that. Like, having a good network is always helpful, but that's kind of on your fingertips now. You can message people on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever. There's ways that you just got to graft. Essentially, I don't have any great advice other than work hard, I guess.
It's funny what you were saying about like meeting Ed before he was like who he is now. I was listening to a podcast on Adam Buxton with
Yeah.
Edgar Wright, who obviously directed like Hot Fuzz and stuff, and they're just talking about how like they met and then they knew like the guys from Little Britain and like all these people, but it was all like when they were all like in their 20s and like they didn't really have shows and they were all just like regular people just trying to do their thing, but then through building the networks and hustling, grafting, like they've like all of them have done.
That's it. Well, I think it's quite often like that as well. Probably with most of these industries, it comes like there's just waves. It's just kind of like this. This is the new generation coming through now, or whatever. And there's always the guys that are blowing up, and then there's the up and comers, and the kind of the different levels of it. And you do tend to you'll meet people in a similar position, and that's probably why you end up befriending them, because you relate to each other on what it is. And if you can get a good talented kind of group of people around you, it's not only motivating for yourself, but then it's also opportunity will generally arise from them, and probably for them through you as well. And it's kind of just one of those ways. I try and be a very open book about it all, and I try and share my contacts with people, and hopefully that then comes back as well, and opportunities come around that way as well. But I mean, that's the same for you. How do you normally kind of find your work? Is it through?
It's all word of mouth.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was looking for a job in Norway. I had a girlfriend that was living there, and it was so hard to find a job. And I found this crazy statistic that was like 92% of jobs aren't advertised or something. And it's just across like the board of everything. And it was like all freelance work is almost always internal.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, do you know someone who can do this? Do you know someone that can do that? Can you pass me their details? Like, you're not going to find that on on a website.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just I feel like as the years progress, the people that might have been in the same situation of you have grown as well, and then likewise they share their contacts, you share yours, and it's like it just grows organically. That's
it. So I guess same thing again. It's just graft, isn't it? Kind of persistence.
And there's like that, like what you were saying, like I like sharing my contacts. It's like have you read that book called "It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be"? I think I might be completely wrong with that name. That might just be like a different quote. I think it is. There's a book that you can read. It's like really short, but there's like a bit in there that I've always remembered. And it's like as soon as you've been given like a skill or like a bit of information, a bit of knowledge, rather than sitting on it, you should share it with someone straight away, because then you learn it more yourself. Right. Then you also boost them up. So you're at the same level, so you have to push yourself even harder to get to another level.
Nice. Okay.
I've had that like in the past, like I've been given tips on like how to color grade videos or something, and like around my filmmaker mates, I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm better than you now. I'm gonna sit on this, and like I've got this like extra bit that like makes me got
like the secret weapon.
Yeah, but it's like as soon as you start sharing that around, like that's when. Then you have to better yourself, and you have to progress and push yourself even more, because everyone's at the same level again on whatever that small bit of information is.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
But I'll have to make sure I've got the name of that book right. I've got it at home.
Send it over.
I'll try and get it to you. And then where can people find your stuff?
Everywhere. All the kind of streaming, Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, whatever platforms, or everything else, ryankeane.co.uk, or Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of the normal online-y kind of things, or gigs. I'll be gigging actively again next year. I'll be on the road.
Wicked. Well, have a sick time in Oman.
Thank you,
and see you when you're back.
Nice one, man. Thanks, dude.